Today, we talk about money. Wait, don't just delete this episode. Don't move on. Wait, hang with me. I have so much goodness to share with you today about money. I have some ideas and wisdom and nuggets. I want you to hear them. You need to hear this. I know you do. Money can be such a taboo topic, but it's an important one that we really need to be talking about. It deserves to be talked about. In this episode, I'm going to share some of my money mistakes. We're also going to talk about the importance of habits and tracking as you move along your money journey. Those are going to be the main themes of this episode. I'm going to keep it fun. I'm going to keep it positive, and it might feel a little uncomfortable. It might feel a little challenging, but I'm here to help you be intentional with your money. Of course, we're going to use PI, plan, implement, evaluate, because that is super important as we work to be intentional in the way that we handle money. So why I'm talking about money here and why I decided to do this episode on the Erin Chase. So generally, I talk about the grocery line item of a budget. But if you were to ask me why I do what I do, it's ultimately because I care about your entire money picture. It just so happens that being focused on the grocery store, that's the place where you can find money if you really need to find money, right? There's meals in your pantry you don't know you have. That's less money that you need to spend at the grocery store. If you really need to find some money, cut your grocery budget in half. You can do that with some creativity and clever meal planning, right? So that's why we're going to just kind of expand away from the grocery line item here and talk generally about money, because I think that I do a lot of reading and a lot of studying and a lot of talking about money kind of behind the scenes, because ultimately I want the big picture so that I can then help you with the grocery piece in your budget. And as you think about your personal finance journey, it's the food and the budget that I can help you most with, but I think I can teach you some things about money in general here today as well. Before we move on, let me preface this with saying all of these things. Money is messy. Money has baggage. We have money baggage. Money's emotional. Apparently, it sounds like money may need a therapist. I don't know. Actually, we are the ones who probably need a money therapist, but that's really actually why financial planners exist. I think our financial planner, I was like, really, I need your help with this. And it was less about the big, like, step-by-step things that we need to do with our finances and more about holding us accountable and things like that. And so he's amazing, but he ultimately is our financial planner, helping us map far into the future. Whereas I was like, nope, I need you to, and he's doing a brilliant job of checking in. And I think that is important. I've asked him to be kind of that part planner, part accountability for us. And it's been fantastic. And I've given him full permission to call us out when we have something that comes up. And actually with our dog, Cody, he needed back surgery out of nowhere in October of 2020. And it was a hefty expense. It's our dog and it's surgery. Like, we didn't really have a choice. It was a large expense. And instead of, what about this? He goes, this is just a little blip. We're going to get right back on track, because it did set us back in some of the things that we wanted to accomplish before the end of 2020. And it was amazing. He was, encouraging and, sorry that happened and that this big expense came up, but also we're just going to keep you right on track. So that's get a financial planner if you don't have one. They're amazing, and they will help you with those kinds of things as well. Because again, going back to it, money's tough, money's emotional. There's this whole spectrum, right? And there's this whole journey that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But it's really important for you to understand yourself and your relationship with money. And hopefully, as I'm sharing and talking here, you'll start to get a little clarity and think of some things that you could do differently as you move along in life and move along in your personal finance journey. First, we're going to talk about mistakes. I'm going to share a couple of mistakes that I've made / we've made. I'll take responsibility because I feel like I made them. But, we are married. We do share finances, but money mistakes, we all make them. It is inevitable. And I'm not just talking about like, I spent too much on something. This kind of goes beyond that. But what really matters is that we learn from those mistakes and do our best not to repeat them, do our best not to let the bad habits and the mistakes take over and run us into a situation that we can't dig ourselves out of. Because a money mistake can quickly turn into a bad habit, which quickly turns into bad behavior. But if we can change those for the better, that's where we're going to start to see success. That's where we're going to start to see, turning the corner, the money corner, if you will, from, feeling like we're just completely out of control and terrible money managers and I can't do this and I'm awful with that and I just spend too much and why can't I get this under control? We need to spin that so that we are back in control and we are making smarter choices with our money. So let me start with one of my biggest money mistakes that I made, actually kind of before I got married and then after we were married, was not saving for retirement in my 20s. I'm totally playing catch up on that now. And here's what happened. I was living overseas. I did have the option to contribute to a 403B, which I did a small amount for the ministry that we worked with, but I didn't have a separate account that I was contributing to. And so I lost out on the compounding advantages that you get when you put away money when you're younger. And so we put, this is quick math, but if you put $1,000 into a retirement account that's at a 2, 3, 4% growth, which most of them are higher than that over a long period of time, by the time you're 59, 65, whenever you're going to retire, the amount that $1,000 turns into is somewhere close to $60,000, I think. And so if you put a little bit in every month or contribute the max every year, all of a sudden you're in the millions because of compounding, right? So that was my mistake. It wasn't that I wasn't doing it, because we did have some small contributions being made. We weren't doing it aggressively enough to then take advantage of compounding. So now we are catching up. And actually, if you haven't saved enough for retirement, you're probably not alone. The statistics are very low. And also, retirement savings is a newer concept. The accounts for those didn't even come into existence until, I think, the 70s or 80s. And so it's a newer concept for us. It's a newer behavior for our society and culture. So start now is all I got to say. Literally every day matters when it comes to compounding. So start now. I don't beat myself up about that. I'm bummed that I made that mistake, but now we are setting it up so that we can take as much advantage that we can for our retirement accounts as we have them set up now. The other thing that I kind of wish that I had done when we were younger, and this has changed as our family has grown, but maybe 10 years ago, was having different accounts and cards. We're the pay off as we go kind of people. So having different cards and accounts with a variety of purposes to maximize all the things that we could maximize. So having a higher yield account for savings, like an emergency fund. If your emergency fund is going to sit there, whether it's $3,000 or $30,000 or 80, whatever your emergency fund is, it should be growing because it's just sitting there. Like, we all need a little pocket of cash sitting there, but it should be growing in some sort of account. Now, it's a little tricky nowadays. The end of 2020, the interest rates are really low. So it's hard to find an account that will do that. But every cent counts, I promise, when it comes to savings account cash that's going to sit there. Other things too is if you are responsible and are paying off credit cards every month, having cards that give you cash back in some way, whether it's for travel or for, 5% on groceries or whatever it is. There are lots of different options out there. I would encourage you to take a look at what your spending is and then find a card that's going to match that. If you can pick a category and one of your highest expenses is groceries, then pick groceries. Or if you drive a lot and you have a lot of gas expenses, then pick gas for your 3 or 4 or 5% cash back, whatever it is. But take time to research all of that. I wish we had done that probably 10 years ago, because I think we wouldn't be sitting in we wouldn't have made millions off of that. But I think just being mindful of kind of dividing out our money and setting it into accounts and using certain cards to maximize the opportunities that are given by the different banks and the different card companies. Sorry if you were listening on 1.5 speed and you had to dial it back to 1 on that last section. You guys, I love this stuff. What I want you to learn from my mistakes and my little rabbit trail there on cards and accounts is that money is a journey, and just where you are now, make it better moving forward. That's the idea. I'm not going to beat myself up over missing out on those cards and accounts. I'm not going to beat myself up on the retirement savings, although I do have moments where I'm like, why didn't I do more? The idea is that money is a journey. Everything changes. I feel like monthly things are changing. Our income changes. Expenses change, right? Opportunities, if you do add a card and all of a sudden you're getting a little $50 back from your grocery spending or whatever it might be. That matters, right? What shouldn't change in your money journey is how much you're giving, how much you're saving, and how much you're living on. Okay. So those are my three. There's a lot of different, people out there who say this, that, and the other. I like give, save, live. Living is your expenses, your regular monthly spending, your mortgage, your car payment, your gas, your insurance, all of those things. So you have give, save, and live. And I think that if you can get those into the percentages, then you are doing a fantastic job. So I'll give you those percentages really quickly. Give 10%, save 20%, live on 70%. You're like, I'm not giving enough, I'm not saving enough. Again, journey. Okay. Give, save, live. I will tell you that we have over probably the last 5 or 6 years slowly taken our save percentage from probably like 5% and we're getting closer to 20. Okay. So this is a journey. Give 10, save 20, live on 70. And then, of course, under the live section, there's recommendations for not spending more than 28% of your take-home income on a house, mortgage, rent type payments. So even within live, there's also further breakdowns that you can consider. But I want you to think big picture. I want you to think on your money journey, give 10, save 20, live 70. And the goal of these percentages is, again, to help you on this journey, to help you feel more confident in the way that your money is being used. How do we walk on this money journey? And I think that ultimately comes down to habits. We've talked about habits before. And in breaking down and looking at your own self of how spending versus saving looks in your life. Because at least for me, I know there's a spectrum. There's spenders and savers, and there is a very big spectrum. My husband's very much a saver. I'm not a super spender. I'm definitely not a crazy exotic spender, but I'm definitely further on the spender spectrum. But we do balance each other out really well, so that is great. But I think that ultimately it comes down to habits and what you are doing to first understanding yourself, and then what you're doing to improve on your money journey. So let's take a look at the spender versus the saver. This might surprise you. If you're an oversaver, yes, that's a thing, then I want you to splurge on yourself once a month. Okay? Your money habit is you need to do or buy something nice for yourself once a month. Okay? It doesn't have to be something wildly expensive. Could be something as simple as a pedicure, right? But if you're an ultra saver and you need to maybe find a little bit more balance and you want a new money habit, yes, I'm telling you to splurge once a month. If you're an overspender, if you're like me and you're further this way on the spender spectrum, then I want you to keep a list of the things that you want to buy. This is one thing that I do actually, I think fairly well, is I keep a list of things that I want to buy. And if a week later, or even 2 weeks later, or even a month later, I still really want that thing, then I'll buy it. That's more things for me, less things for the kids or the dogs. So the dogs. Sweet Daisy's gonna have her own closet soon, you guys. This is where I get in trouble. Being on the spender side of the spectrum. You guys, dogs, and Daisy doesn't have a lot of fat on her, and she has very, very thin coat. So she needs little sweaters because it's cold. Okay, yeah, I should stop buying sweaters for her. She's gonna need her own closet soon. I'm gonna have to turn the downstairs coat closet into Daisy's closet. Anyways, this is what I mean. Daisy doesn't necessarily need more sweaters. I want to buy her more sweaters because it's the cutest thing on the planet. Okay, so make a list. That's actually been on the list of things that I would like to purchase, but I'm not purchasing yet. And that just adds a little bit of self-accountability. But if you need more accountability than that, then you need to add that into your life, whether it's a friend or your partner. You can like freeze your credit card in a cup of ice. I mean, if you need to do that, that's fine. However, nowadays that wouldn't really work because your credit cards are like saved in all your accounts and your browsers. So that's kind of a problem. So you really need to get some accountability in your life. So those are my ideas for you for just quick little habit things to think about, do differently. For if you're a saver, splurge on yourself. If you're a spender, then I want you to get some accountability, whether that's writing a list, freezing your credit card, having your partner help you, whatever it is. I need you to set up these into your life. The next piece of money that I would like to talk about is tracking your money. First of all, you need to know your brain is not good at keeping track of how much you're spending day to day. It's really not, especially when it comes to food. I say this all the time in interviews. You are not good at keeping track of how much money you're spending on food because we have to eat all the time. Like we just need food every day. So we don't have like a good running tally. I feel like I probably have a better running tally of like when I filled up my car with gas, like I could probably mentally on the month come down to the dollar of how much we spent on gas. It's much more difficult to do that with food, especially when you mix groceries with pickup, delivery, takeout, drive-through, all of those things. And so I think the same thing applies with just everyday spending. We lose track of how many $100 trips to Target we took. I know I'm not the only one that happens to. Okay. So I want you to think about track in terms of my PI acronym, plan, implement, evaluate. The tracking of your money is the evaluate piece of your money. You have to track your spending. You have to check statements at the end of every month. You have to log into your bank's app on your phone and check your balances. You can even get balance notifications sent to you, right? So you have to do this top of mind. If you are really struggling, do this daily. If you're kind of like, okay, I need to do a little bit better about keeping this top of mind, and get a weekly notification. I have weekly balance notifications on our bank accounts, Saturday mornings. We have a couple bank accounts, maybe not that many, but we have a few. Having the balance checks coming in every week helps me kind of mentally see, okay, give and then save. And do we need to take any action on any money going to this account or that account that particular week? Most of what we have is automatic. And then we have the live, like, okay, we have this percentage for living. And so it just helps with the overall picture. And in my Sunday setup episode, we talk a little bit more about the weekly kind of errands and expenses and income that happens in our lives. And so this is the idea, like tracking, like there's a lot of different ways you can track your money. You could use an app like You Need a Budget or Mint. Whatever it is, I want you to keep it top of mind, and I want you to make it easy. Have it come to you. And part of that is like the notifications kind of thing. Part of it is automatic transfers from, this account to that, whether it's a retirement account or you have an emergency fund transfer that's automatic from this account to that account. With our insurance, we're not eligible for our health savings account. So we have another account that we have for medical and dental. It's just a savings account, but we have like auto little transfers so that when we need to go to the dentist and do all the cleanings and things, x-rays and things like that, we're not like 6 of us to the dentist. It's not cheap, right? But we've been kind of paying for that into this account so that it doesn't become like a thing, right? So keeping it top of mind, making it easy so that you have your money in the right place when you need it, right? If you want to get ultra into tracking, track your net worth. I think in the big picture of life, this is what will help you stay focused on your bigger financial goals if you're tracking your overall net worth. And what is your overall net worth? It's everything you own minus everything that you own, right? So owning things, your equity in your house, higher ticket assets, your business is an equity asset if you own your own business, even a side hustle, right? That can be the value of that side hustle could be included into your net worth. Of course, cash, anything in retirement accounts, all of that added together is your net worth, minus anything that you might have payments on. That, of course, could be credit card debt, car loan debt, student loan debt. Any sort of debt is going to go on the liability side. So adding that all up, seeing here's what I have and here's what I owe in one place on a spreadsheet, I highly recommend. If you really want to make this really happy, give it colors. Greens and reds. Green and red are the colors for money and a balance sheet, right? So make it pretty, make it fun. Have all your assets in green, yay, growing money, and have all your liabilities in red. Gotta knock those off as I'm able to. It just really helps you see the bigger picture, stay focused, and reach for your financial goals. Okay, well, that might have been the best segue in the history of segues of Erin Chase Show podcast recordings, but now we're going to talk about goals. We need our net worth to stay focused on the big picture, and I want to break down money goals for you as they happen on the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and of course, annual basis. So with your money goals, I want you to think about them on a sort of spectrum, if you will. We need to talk about goals as like daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, of course, quarterly, and then annual. So the idea of the daily kind of weekly goal is things like, I need to regain control of my grocery spending, or I want to go through the drive-through one less time this week. Just one. I'm not even asking for two. Just one. Okay, these are the types of things I want you to be thinking about for your weekly money goal. Some other ideas is you want to track your daily spending. Just spend a week or two of writing down everything you spend. I'm just gonna let you know now that's gonna be uncomfortable, but I highly recommend it because it's very insightful. It really gives you some really interesting clues about your own relationship with money when you are tracking date. Like literally get a little journal or just some paper and just, okay, today I bought this, today I ordered this. Ordering online is really tricky, especially in the season of the pandemic where it's just easiest and fastest. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to risk going into a store and coming in contact with any people, right? But maybe another goal would be only making one online order a week. And then the Amazon delivery guy is going to be like, hey, what happened to her? I'm not coming here every day anymore, right? So, but make that your goal. And that could also be going back to keeping track, if you're a spender, keeping that list of things that you want or need and just making one order instead of, how easy is it to buy off of Amazon? You just swipe the thing, buy with one click. Like, what? No, like slow down. Let's make one order a week, if that's what you need to do, right? So this is what I mean by kind of the daily, weekly goals as it relates to money. On the monthly or quarterly, I would recommend monthly, especially as you're getting going. I want you to print out and review line by line your statements. I totally get it that paperless is a thing. I totally get it. You probably could do this digitally if you have some sort of software like, Quicken or QuickBooks or something like that. You might be able to see this. We do have QuickBooks online. My husband is a pro advisor. Like we have the full digital setup here, but I need to do this on paper, working through the statement line by line, looking at every single thing. And I have moments where I'm like, okay, this is great. I can kind of group like spending and see. I do dots and stars and lines and circles and arrows and things. It's what I do. It's how my brain works. But the idea is for you to see everything that you're spending, because like I said, we're not good at the day-to-day, like I'm spending all the time. But when we look at it on the monthly basis, you're like, oh, I went through the drive-through a lot. Oops. Take what you learned from your monthly and then decide what your daily, weekly goals need to be as it relates to your spending. There really is something super powerful about looking at your expenses line by line after the fact. You'll see where your priorities are when they're on paper because you spend what you prioritize. But this is also where we recognize those patterns and can make new goals, like I said, for the next month. Annual goals would be things like, okay, it's the year that we need to buy a new car, or next year we're going to need to be buying a new car because either this clunker has been run into the ground or because it's just time, or you want to trade in a lease or whatever your car situation is, and you want to do that in cash. Go for it. This is a big goal. This is when you need to set aside money as you move towards it in advance. Another type of big kind of annual goal would be making an extra payment on your house, cutting into the principal a little bit more, owing less in interest over time. If you can do an extra payment on your house every single year, so make 13 payments instead of 12. On a 30-year mortgage, it's now 23 years. And on a 15-year mortgage, it's now paid off in almost 11 and a half years. Whew, it's a lot. If you run the math on that, it's a lot of money and interest that you save by making that one extra payment. How we stay on top of goals, this is Steve and I. We have a weekly meeting. We look at incomes. He sends in advance, like I said, we've got all these fabulous reports that he has set up with all of our accounts connected in QuickBooks, but he sends the balance sheets, he sends the P&Ls for the businesses that we have, he sends our expenses list. We also have reports in a program called Everplan. We just look at all of it. And I highly recommend that you do this on a weekly basis if you're married, because it just keeps you both on the same page and it keeps your financial goals top of mind. And of course, the Sunday setup. We'll get into more of that next week. But we do have a great place for you personally to keep track of errands, expenses, and income that you have coming up. Okay, it's time for piece of pie. Plan, implement, evaluate. So I want you to plan one new money goal for yourself. Or if you want to try the weekly check-in thing with your partner, you got to communicate, get the buy-in. I know that can be tricky. Your partner might not be open to that. If they're not, then do the one money goal yourself. So think about which one of those might work best for you, where you're at right now and where you're in your relationship. And then implementing it is working towards that goal. If you say, I'm only going to go through the drive-thru once this next week, do your very best to go through the drive-thru once, right? Whatever the goal is, because it's these small little changes that lead to big results over time. And then at the end of the week, evaluate, check in on that goal. Or if you're having your meeting, talk about how the week went. And then you repeat this. Now you can see why this is a journey. It's one little thing here. It's another thing next month. 3 months from now, you got derailed in life. Life happened. You're getting back on track. It's just this process and this journey. But hopefully these ideas here will help you stay focused and on track with your financial goals. Think. I want you to think money. I want you to think positive money, plus sign money, green money, not red money, debt money. I want you to think positive. I want you to feel assured that wherever you're at in this money journey, you're starting today and you're going forward. One thing you learned from me today, moving forward. And I want you to feel assured in even the mistakes you made, because we're going to fix them now, kind of going forward. And last, taking action. Set up your money goal, like we talked about in planning, or your money meeting, and regularly be checking in on the goal, your accounts, your monthly statements, all of the things that we unpacked here in this episode. If you love this, I want to hear from you. Please email me if you have any questions. I know a lot about personal finance. I don't know that I would call myself a personal finance expert, but I'm happy to listen or point you to a article or information that might help you. Also, please leave a review. We love to hear how the show is helping you and other ideas you might have for future episodes. And of course, you can download the worksheets that go with this episode, all the money worksheets, as well as the other episodes here in season 3 of the Erin Chase Show. You can download those at erinchase.io/podcast. And that's it for this money chat, my friend. It's bye for now, and we'll talk again soon.